So yeah, I feel like I've said that as much as I really need about that. So, Digimon, right?
Yeah.
On to some episodes which I'll probably have much less to talk about with for fairly obvious reasons. So, yeah, this episode. So, through means that I do not understand and cannot fathom, somehow the Royal Knights blasting all the kids with a giant flaming dragon opened up some form of dimensional rift that teleported them to the freaking moon, instead of just, killing them.
Yeah, it's never really made clear how that happened, but yeah, it happened.
Yeah, I don't... Is this why Lord Nightmon told him not to do it? Because she's like... Or I guess he's like... Well, no, don't. If you blast them, they might go through a portal and end up at the moon. I feel like that's probably not what they're thinking, but, I mean... It's not to have the realm possibility. And that's surprising.
It's very strange. Like, yeah, they just get sent to the moon. Through a big attack. It's done.
This episode literally feels like it was supposed to happen way earlier, but like the writers didn't really have a place to put it in the whole Cherubimon arc. So they're like, screw it, we need to make time now, let's send the heroes to the moon. And you immediately see, as soon as they look at the Earth, that chunks of the remaining world are disappearing, and people are consistently like, hey, that's a problem, maybe we need to stop this. And you keep getting shots of the Earth from the surface, of like, Digimon fleeing in terror as their homes are being destroyed one by one. And it's like, okay, well, now that the stakes have been properly established and we all know how dangerous and dire the situation is, it's time for wacky, just one-off episode, just filler hijinks.
Yeah,
it's time for the hardest filler that we've ever fillered.
Watch as Junpei tries to figure out literal rocket science.
Yeah. That's the thing, it's like his
okay at it.
His calculations are impressive. It definitely looks like he knows what he's doing.
It certainly looks like it. Couldn't tell you how accurate any of the math he's doing is, but hey.
Yeah, it's like... I feel like if we put up on screen, you wouldn't be able to really make much of it. I feel like he probably didn't account for how different the digital world environment was, though. Like, he's probably applying this stuff to G into the Earth's moon, and that's a completely different thing from what this is, so it just fails. Because I believe that, like, Mel Commentarymon's able to, like, or Bulkmon or whatever is able to, like, fire at specific values to adjust for exact force measurements for the calculations. I think he just didn't account for the gravity enough. Because that seems to be the case, right?
I have no idea, man. I don't know. Like, it's impossible to tell how close he was with anything.
Yeah, I forgot shit happened till his prop last week. Yeah, because that's the other thing. It's like, the moon also has air on in this universe. It's not much, but it's like, it does have an atmosphere. And that would also throw off his calculations by a lot.
Yeah, Koichi mentions how thin the air is, but yeah, there is air apparently.
Yeah, you have to account for the air resistance or it's just gonna drag you down. That being said, during all these hijinks attempts, there is one that kind of works, where Grummon just uses his skates and his speed to just zip up a ramp up to the planet, and he gets blocked by, like, a stream of data, and it's like, oh, alright, I guess there's just, like, fields of data that can just stop your path if you're, like, trying to go there.
Yeah,
like,
and everybody watching their attempts, nobody thought to tell them.
Yeah, that's what's frustrating throughout this episode. It's like, the situation is dire, and at no point does anyone stop to be like, hey, maybe we should ask these Starmon and these Burgermon how they actually got up here. Maybe we should ask the locals just living on the moon, which somehow does not contain any rabbits but does contain Golemon, how they actually ended up on the moon.
What is it? Meteormon, Burgermon.
Yeah.
Starmon, Super Starmon.
I have them all in this very poorly drawn still that this show scrolls across. It's serviceable, but boy do these characters look wonky.
It's fine.
Just look at Starmon's arms.
That's Super Starmon, thank you very much.
Yeah, look at friggin' Chalkmon.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, man.
Also, I don't know if they do it in the dub, but the Starmon always finish their sentences by saying star.
I feel fairly sure the dub is not going to do that.
I don't know, they might have.
Because it's like, that's a Japanese thing, right? Like, it's like, when Daramon just finished every sentence with Dara or something. I think it was Dara, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, like, a good example of translating into dub is in Disgaea. Prinnies say something else in Japanese, and for English they're just like, alright, they say dude for some reason.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Yeah, that actually is a case where they did the thing. Yeah, maybe they did. Yeah. I should have checked. Oh well, doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Also, every time Super Starmon does something, like a little guitar riff plays.
Yeah.
I love him.
Man. I should also probably point out, we get, like, instrumental version of Broken Wings for when Koichi just wakes up and just jumps up and just sees the Earth from the moon, and that shot that's not as impressive as it probably should be.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where it's like, Koichi's trying to climb the rocks, which he's having trouble doing for some reason, despite the lower gravity.
Yeah.
And then he falls off and then realizes that the gravity is different.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, I'll just jump up here.
Yeah.
Man, Broken Wings is just the theme that plays whenever Koichi does a thing. It's just theme of Koichi actually doing something, and he doesn't get to play it often, but every time he can, he does. Not the show Koichi, he's the one that plays it. He's just got the button and he's like, oh, it's my time to do something? Aw, heck yeah, and he just hits it and the theme goes. This is not canon, by the way, but should be. It'd be rad. Oh, man. I get the feeling we're not going to be hearing it that much after this point.
Who knows?
Oh man, they're struggling so hard to find reasons for Koichi to do a thing. There's so little he can do at this point. Like, he happens to be the only one that didn't get knocked out by the blast for some reason. And he's like, oh no, well I hope my brother is okay, because that's my only relevant character trait. And they just kind of go with it. Man, can we just talk about everyone's attempts to escape the moon for a moment? Because it's like, the first one it has is that Agnimon's like, oh, what if we all use our attacks at once and we try to push the freaking moon out of orbit?
Yeah, it's another one of those instances where he just doesn't tell anyone what his plan is, and it's like, oh, they never would have agreed to do this if they knew,
Yeah,
because
I was
this is
thinking,
so
like,
stupid.
are they gonna combine their attacks and try to recreate the dimensional wave or something? Like, by using all of them at once? No? Alright.
I had a feeling. I had this feeling that it's like, oh, they're trying to like push the moon, aren't they?
Yeah. If nothing else, what they should do is they should have Magna Garurumon just, like, handstand on the moon and use his thrusters. That'd probably have more push than anything they'd use with their attacks.
Probably.
I don't think it would work, but I mean, at least it would be, at least he's a jet. At least he does have an engine to push things with. What I'm wondering is, like, alright, say his plan works, right? Say start pushing the moon out of orbit. All gravity is something just being in free fall.
Yeah, they push the moon to the digital world and just destroy it, I guess.
Yeah, they would just smash the moon into the digital world, or what's left of it, I guess. Which means it would probably smash into the core and hit, like, Lucimon, and who knows what the crap that would even do. Would they just push him out?
They probably just destroy more of the digital world and end up sending it into the core and speeding up Lucimon's revival.
Just ask one where it's like Takuya does his whole plan of like trying to push the moon, and it cuts to the moon falling in Majora's Mask, and Navi's like, oh crap, that's happening early. We need to reset time now. Jeez. Just millions are dead. You should have pushed the moon. Why would you do this?
I get the feeling there aren't too many Digimon left in the digital world at this point.
Yeah, there might
anyways.
not be millions of Digimon left. Like, they're looking at the world and they're seeing, like, entire peninsulas and stuff just disappear, like, in a blink of an eye. And it's like, oh, well, we still have time left, but this is a huge problem. This is, like, entire states just being wiped off the map in, like, a matter of minutes. Like, this is not going well. Just, the planet is, like, basically gone. There's so few places left. Oh, man. Like, Chakma, of course, trying to just get running starts and just doing, like, you know, just jumps and stuff not working. Weirdly, Fairymon's solution is just like, hold her hands together and just wish for a way to get back to the Earth. And it does nothing. Yeah.
She's wishing on a star.
Yeah, which unfortunately is not Shooting Starmon. That would be a really good gag. Can you imagine? She's like, oh, yo, please, stars, yo. I was a shooting star, yo. Please take us back to Earth. And it just zooms on the star as just a Starmon just falling into the atmosphere, burning up. And he's just like, yeah! He's just like screaming. You know what? I don't know what would be funnier if he's just like, oh, yeah, or if he's just like, oh
no!
He just smashes it to the ground, gets up just fine. He's like, I thought I was done for a moment. But yeah, so eventually they do manage to find a way off.
Yeah, Junpei's like designing like his own actual rocket, and he's like, guys, I figured it out. Yeah, I finished my plans. This should work. And it's like, oh, there's just a rocket buried in the ground over here in this crater.
Well, that's convenient.
Sure is.
Man, if only we asked all the Starmon and Burgermon how they moved here in the first place, so they could have just been like, oh yeah, we used this rocket, you see? But yeah, they have the rocket, and they have to fly it through the data stream, which almost doesn't work, because they, like, just nick the wing and all get, like, screwed up. And, like, friggin' Takuya has to evolve into Vitramon for the first time in ages to literally jump out the window in the data stream and give the thing a freaking push.
Whatever works, right?
Whatever works, but it's so freaking goofy.
It is pretty silly.
It's like, if this episode came at any other point in the series, I'd be so much more on board for all these hijinks. But because there's literal, like, lives on the line, now it's kind of frustrating. You know?
I don't know, I think it's fine. I do think it's a little too silly for, like, the current, like, the stakes.
Yeah. Because the very next episode is like, oh, the Roll Knights are doing things and they're going to, like, kidnap and murder some kids.
But
It's like, oh.
But let's deal with Tomoki's bully problem.
Let's deal with Tomoki's bully problem. But first, we have to get back to Earth, but we don't quite make it and kind of become space trash. But thankfully, we just happen to land on a freaking trail monorail going up into space.
For some reason.
Yeah, and a mole trailmon is like, oh, well, I guess I'd push you, but it'd be pretty annoying, but alright, I guess. Sure, why not? And they just get a boost back to the planet. Amber episode, what a weird time to handle. Yeah, I know, right? These episodes literally feel like, hey, we have these ideas we couldn't work in, let's just shove them in here. Where it's just, like, just super out of nowhere and irrelevant. Just while there's the biggest ticking clock looming over everyone's head right now. Oh, man. Like, this should have been, like... Alright, hear me out. They get Koichi, right? And they're, like, going to, like, Trubimon's lair. And they, like... say they get to the Venus Rose, and it's like, oh, Cherubimon's already taken the data and he's escaped. Because it's like, I don't know. Well, I don't know, it probably won't work.
What if the Venus Rose was just in space?
Yeah, you know what? Sure. What if the Venus Rose was in space and everyone, like, yo, had to, like, go to, like, through the Dark Continent to get to a transport, and we met the bully kids on the way so that we could go through Tomoki's bully problem. And, like, they get to the transport, it teleports them to the moon where they, like, do the whole thing with the Venus Rose and fight Cherubimon on the moon, which would have been fine. That would have made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, Rabbit on the Moon, of course. I was gonna think of that originally, but yeah. And then,
I can see one problem. And it's like, the whole idea was to get the kids to Cherubimon to steal their things, like their spirits.
Yeah.
So wouldn't putting it in such a location make it hard for them to get there and thus make his plan worse?
Maybe, but I mean, he did already put it in the middle of the Dark Continent, so that's kind of already, like, an issue. Well, if they're already traveling through there, then just going through a transporter or something wouldn't be much different from just finding the spot in the middle of the forest. But yeah, you do that, you get them to the moon, you have, like, your goofy filler episode afterwards of, like, oh, but how do we get back to the Earth, though? And you do it, and you end on the big cliffhanger of, like, oh, but what's this? And you see, like, mysterious figures just appear. Sure, why not?
Sure.
And, like, then you have the whole thing with Baronmon, and you start the Royal Knight arc for real. And you have, like, Tomoki's thing be, like, at the transport. It's just like, yeah, screw it, they're just in the Dark Continent for some reason, whatever, they just kind of, like, wandered out there to the edge of it. And now it's like, they're dealing with the, like, whole deal and stuff, yeah. Do we have anything to say out 39 before we officially move on?
Not really.
Fine episode, its placement is very odd.
I guess we didn't mention the fact that they use a big slingshot to fire the rocket. That's pretty funny.
There's a slingshot made of tank treads, which... So hear me out.
I don't think that's how that works, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think tank treads are literally, like, made of rubber in that way. I think they're, like... Aren't they, like, literally connected by, like, mechanical bits? So there'd be, like, no elasticity. It would be, like, you would stretch it out, and you would go back with it, and you would either, like, break it, or it would just, like, just fall to the ground and not do anything. I don't think there's a, like, real in-between here where it would, like, slingshot them back, but okay.
Digital world. Whatever, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fine for a movie episode.